Hi all. I'm an aspiring chartered accountant and a passionate artist, the artist behind the page Shoba Krishnan on Instagram. So art was always my hobby during school days, and it used to be a summer vacation kind of a thing where I used to go, do some drawing or color pencils and stuff like that. Painting was never my thing during school days, but it just started like very recently, like 3 years ago, where I attended a workshop on brush lettering, and that's where my love for watercolor started. I started to explore different mediums after that. So I work with watercolors, acrylics, wash, posters, and color pencils. So yep, this is all about me.
All right. Hey guys, first of all, welcome. It's amazing to see a lot of you from different parts of the world. I'm truly excited. So this is a very different art form, or it's not an art form, but something very different that I picked up while working with acrylics and gouache. So this is something which we're going to be doing. I actually started doing it like a greeting card. So you could probably do it in the form of a greeting card, or probably just on a normal piece of paper as such. So this is what we're going to try creating today, somewhat similar, of course, a different shape and all. So this is purely inspired by these African tribal masks. So I was just randomly Googling about Africans culture and all that, where I came upon these, masks and stuff. So that is how I started trying. So I would draw different shapes and try nose and earrings and all that and give them different colors. So this is how I came up with such a unique piece. So we're going to be doing this today. So yeah, first of all, this is a watercolor sheet. You could even use a mixed media paper, which is of 300 GSM. So I'm using a watercolor sheet which is of 300 GSM, and I'm going to use the medium called gouache today. So these are they give a matte finish. They're like somewhere in between acrylics and watercolors. So basically these can be reactivated, whereas acrylics, once they dry, you cannot reactivate the paint. But for gouache, you can actually reactivate them like watercolors. But they give you a more thicker and matte kind of a finish than watercolors. So that's why I prefer this medium for this. You could very well use poster colors, acrylics, or even watercolors if you want, for these, doesn't matter. So I've already pre-made the mask today, but I will be showing you all how to do this. So this is the base. I have drawn the mask, and I wanted a neat edge. So I have masked my paper with masking tape towards the edges. So quickly to getting on started, how we do this.
So the brushes I've been using for the class are just two. One is the flat brush and the other round. So it depends on the paper or the size of the paper which you're going to use. I have taken an A5 size sheet where I have done the mask. So for that, I had used a flat brush of size 6. If you're going to go for a bigger paper, so of course you can take a bigger size flat brush. That shouldn't be an issue. And for the round brush, I have used a size 2 and a 4. For the details, you could very well use a thin liner or a zero sized round brush. Else, if you don't have such thin details, you could go with a toothpick. So the edge of a toothpick would give you really fine details. So that's it about the brushes.
First, I just take up the middle portion of the paper and I draw a straight line. So probably in school days, we would have learned symmetry, art kind of a stuff. So that is what we're going to do today. So it's just going to be freehand, but just make sure, your halves are equal and they look, the same. So you can explore with different shapes. So the shape which I had done before was something like this, or, an oval. So it is totally up to you to explore different types of shapes or whatever. So today we're just going to do something like a semicircle types. It is totally up to you. You want a triangle, probably you can go this way, or so since I've like just chosen one particular shape today for the workshop, I'm just trying to replicate the same which I've already made. So probably you can just draw it like two earrings over here. Okay. And then a mouth. Just make sure like this half is equal to this half. That is all we have to see. So that is what is basically symmetry, right? So like we just make sure the left is equal to the right. Now this is the mouth. Probably you can just draw a shape of the mouth and a lip. So this is with the mouth. So now for the nose, we have the nostrils. Yeah. And you could either do it. So I'm doing it freehand. Basically, if you want to use a ruler, you can very well use a ruler. So I have done it a bit slanted, but in the pre-made this one, I had done it a bit straight. So that's totally up to you. It doesn't matter. Shapes really don't matter in these kind of forms, you know. It is just totally up to your creativity and how fun you get with these. So that doesn't matter at all. Like whatever comes to your mind, you can just go ahead and, you know, try it out. Yeah, so this is basically a rough sketch as to how like I haven't like, you know, done it so neatly, but yeah, this is how basically you can just in explore with your own shapes, and you know, even after you do these, probably the detailing you give, you can even enhance it a bit more. So somewhat like these. So these dots I had used toothpick. If you don't have a detailed brush or whatever, you can very well use the back and the front part of the toothpick to give these kind of dots. So just dip them in the paint and directly post them. So you have such. If you want bigger dots, you could go for earbuds. So with whatever you have at home, basically you can actually try to explore and such, you know. So there's no hard and fast rule that if you should have only such brushes and stuff like that. You don't have, just pick up something at home and you know you can explore. So that shouldn't be a problem. So we're done with the sketching. So start slowly painting it up. So probably first, it depends. Like if you want to cover the, I mean, color the background first and then come to the face, we could do that. So I choose to first do the face. Probably once it's drying a bit, we can go for the background. So to start with the face, I'm taking a yellow color. So I've already put my paints in the palette. You could probably take it straight from the tube also. I would require a few colors from the tube, but just for now, I'm taking it from my palette. So this is almost like a mango yellow. Um, this kind of a yellow, the one which I've used for background basically. So I'm using that. So the colors which I'm going to be mostly using is yellow, sap green, red as in a maroon kind of a red, carmine red. And for the background, I'd want to use a blue with a grayish tinge kind. So it will be like a dull blue kind of color. So these are the colors which I have in mind. So probably as we keep painting, you know, we can see how, what colors we want to choose, or, you know, how we want to change and stuff. So how I would do is I give all the colors in between, and towards the end, I will give the black outline. In case you don't have a black paint, you have an alternative. You could very well take a black permanent marker or a black sketch pen or whatever. And if you want like neat, refined edges and all, and if you're very comfortable with marker, you can very well go ahead with the black outlines. So first we'll give all the color, black towards the end, we can keep it. So I'm starting. So these are almost, the paints which I'm using are almost like acrylic. They are pretty much thick in nature, and they dry up also. So the ones which I've used in my previous paintings are also with gouache, and so they give this matte kind of a finish. So, and even if your color goes wrong, like right now while you're painting, don't worry, because we'll be covering up the outline with black anyways. So it doesn't matter, yeah.
Oh.
So I have mixed a little water and I have kept it already. I won't be using a lot of water, but it's just to mix the color and to get a little diluted. It's not too watery. So I'm just painting along with the shape I have drawn. So that is why the outline, if you want to go without an outline and just randomly paint, you can very well do that. So, but I just prefer an outline to be on the safer side. I guess this is very easy, as in it's not necessary you need to know how to paint or draw, or you need to know art. Anybody can do all this. Like, I feel watercolors is something, okay, there is a bit of learning to get hold of the medium, but these are just very random stuff. So I guess anybody can do that. You don't have to hesitate at all. Just pick up and start painting. And basic, you just need one or two brushes. Like, you don't need a set of brushes for all this and stuff. Not much of an investment also. So it is just very, very basic stuff. So I'm just thinking of wherever I have thought I'd want to paint yellow. So I'm just painting in those areas. Okay, so this is my yellow portions for now. I'm done with it. Maybe I'll come back with yellow a bit later. I will go with green next. So there'll be a lot of portions to be painted, like a liner or probably a thicker nib would do. So if you have a marker, it will be really good, because all these are very thick. So liners would take a lot of time to color and stuff. So if you have a thicker, a marker would do, actually, it would do wonders. Okay. I'm just adding a bit of white to this green because I want it a little dull. The colors are also up to you all totally. Like, it is totally your choice. I've just picked up a few random colors, so I'm sticking on to that. I have dulled my green a bit because I wanted it like a pastel effect. So I like how it turns out, the effect it gives after drying. So it gives a matte finish. See how bright the colors are shown. Probably you'll have a similar effect in acrylic, but this gives a matte finish. The finish is different than acrylics. So that is why I prefer gouache. So yeah, it's a medium which is like between acrylics and watercolors. A beautiful medium indeed. I'm using water like a bit to just mix the colors basically, but I'm not diluting it too much. So see, I've already like put my paints here basically. I'm just taking a little in the brush and putting it with water. It depends. So once you start painting, maybe if it is too diluted, if you can see the paper beneath, then probably you could mix some more paint. Like this yellow is very concentrated as you can see. So it was just one dollop of paint which I've actually put in my palette, and I'm just mixing little water with them and painting it. That's it. Poster is also like a fake kind of a gouache. We call that a fog gouache actually. So yeah, you can very use that also. Yeah, people who cannot afford gouache or who don't want to try gouache, posters anyway a go-to medium, because school days, I guess we are all used to using poster colors. Like that's something which has always been there. Gouache is just something which has come up recently. So poster has always been there. So yeah. I have made a few mistakes. I mean, if you can see, so that in between the lip, I wanted to make it black, but I've painted it red. It's fine. If you've done such mistakes, it's totally fine, because at the end, we're going to cover everything up with black. So need not worry if, your color goes haywire or whatever it is. So that isn't an issue at all. So you can use markers. I'm planning to do it with the brush itself, like with black paint. If you don't want to use paints, you can very well go with markers. That isn't an issue at all. This is just like a maroon kind of a red, which I use for the lips. And now for the nose, I'm using like a proper red. So this is just a flesh tint, it's called. So it's something like a creamish kind of a color. I wanted to actually use it here, but I used green. So this is what, just play with the flow basically. So I've already pre-mixed, if you can see, this is the color. So this was a light blue. It's called a cerulean blue. I've mixed it with a little bit of black and dulled it down, adding a bit of white. So it gives me a kind of a bluish, grayish kind of an effect. So this is what I'm going to use for my background. and probably the nose I was thinking of. So now for the background, the brush which I've been using is around of size 4 or something. It is fine for my details inside. For the background, if I just want a quick wash, it is always better to use a flat brush. If you don't have a flat brush, it's totally fine. You can just go with the brush which you have. It doesn't matter at all.
Yeah.
It just makes the work faster. So this is like a bit dulled down. The blue is even more brighter, so I dulled it down a bit by adding a little bit of black and white. So it gives that dull color and it brings up the mask in the front. So yeah. Okay, so I made a slight mistake with it. Don't worry about it. We can, cover it up with black. That's the best part about this actually. Just play
Yeah.
with colors initially and cover up your mistakes. So it's okay. So I'm putting the same color as the background for the nose. So by the time you've completed the background, your painting in the middle starts to dry a bit. So once you're done like with the whole thing, you can actually start with the black outlines. That's why I give that gap. But if you're using a marker or a thick liner, a black liner or something of that sort, then you will have to wait for the whole paint to dry, because then you won't be able to use the markers on wet paints. So that is one drawback. Now for the just tiny bit, I'd probably add yellow. Paint is bit hard, no, little hard. It's time consuming also. We've painted now, it's just the outlining which is left. And once they're right, you can start giving the detailing. So by detailing is what I mean is these, like, you can add these dots or like a nose ring or something of that sort. So that's also like the earring, I could probably add another loop in between, something like that. So some details with like white or, it'll bring it up a bit more. So this just looks plain as of now. So once we finish the outlining and then we start giving those details, it'll add value to the mask. Actually, for that only, that's the reason I was like, you could go with marker or a thicker pen, because people wouldn't prefer a detail brush and so much of detail. First of all, patience.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody has the patience to actually sit into so much of detailing. It is
Yeah.
pretty much time consuming. So you can very well go with a marker. Marker is a very easy job, to be honest. That way. Else, if you're comfortable, you're using, I mean, you're okay with using a detail brush and going about with black paint, you can very well go, but it takes time. So you should have that patience. That is it. For the detailing, I've just taken white acrylics. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to directly dip the paint. Like now for this in the earrings, what I meant was like probably I'll give a round here inside. You could do that. This is one. I'm just going to put direct dots from the paint. You can use a toothpick, actually. It'll give a very neat finish. So I have gone like from big to small. Um, is it visible? So like from here, I go the biggest circle, and I go as I go and I get smaller. So this way you could do any shape, like you can go, vertical or triangle, or like for example, now in this, yellow, it's not necessarily you have to do your detailing with white alone. You could even use, suppose like for this yellow, you could probably put a red or something like that, just to give it a striking effect. So this is one way of detailing this. What I would like is, I have this tint flesh here, so I'm just trying to put some dots there. There's no hard and fast rule here. You can do anything that comes to your mind. It is just that there's a point where you know that you have to stop. So it shouldn't be like you've over detailed the work. So that is it. It shouldn't be like just too much is there. And yeah, just little here and there, like, until and unless you're satisfied with like the whole look of the mask, basically. So see, so when I add the dark color over the skin, the flesh tint, so it gives a better look. It just pops up the beneath this one also. So yeah. I just was saying, like, for the eyes, like eyeball. So I'm just adding one in the middle. That's it. And maybe for like a nose ring. I'm very fascinated with white detailing. So yeah. So this is what it is. So once we finish the outline and you give the detailing, it looks much better and it look complete. And the peeling off the masking tape is the most satisfying part. So yeah.
So here it is, the complete artwork which should be having after, we complete all the details and stuff. So initially it would be like, you would just be painting the main parts. So once you start laying over the details with your fine liners, you get really beautiful details on the tribal mask. So this is the final piece. Yeah.